All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm a couple minutes behind today. I got to, okay, this is crazy. Um, so many of you know, or if you followed my journey at all, that I'm a certified uh, coach through a couple different modalities. One of them is IPEC, and the other one is Martha Beck um, Institute. So through both of those places, I received really complementary training and certifications that I felt were really important for me as a coach to, because I want to be the best possible coach for my clients. And so, and I like learning new things. So of course I did two certifications um, around coaching. I have other things too, but for that. So in any case, all to say that, I've been a fangirl and follower of Martha Beck for decades, since she started writing for the Oprah Winfrey magazine. And I may have told this story, I don't think so, but I've got all of the Oprah Winfrey magazines that have ever been written when she had her magazine. Um, up until she went quarterly. And then I have most of those, but for some reason, I don't think I have all of them. And oh, uh, hint, hint, that would be a really nice Christmas gift, kiddos, to complete my collection if I have missed quarterly magazines. Okay, but that aside, I became a fan, read her books. Actually, I think Embracing Adam, um, is that what it's called? Embracing Expecting Adam, her book Expecting Adam. I read that even before she was in part of the Oprah community. And so I'm a fan. And, um, a lot of what I teach comes from her teachings. I've integrated what she's talked about. I traveled with her to Africa and went on one of her African star retreats, which I highly recommend. And my husband said, who is a writer for a local newspaper, and so he gets announcements, press releases and things, and people asking him to write stories on it for his paper. And he said, oh, guess what, Martha Beck is going to be talking to the to a community high school here about her book Beyond Anxiety. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like in my backyard. So she's not live, she was virtual, but it still felt like she was here because she was, talking to the district teachers and administrators and parents of kids who live in my community about anxiety. And so I knew I wanted to go to it, and I knew I'd be pushing up right against our 1 o'clock time. But hopefully you forgive me for being a few minutes late. And most people watch the recording, so it doesn't matter at all. But can you believe that Martha Beck was essentially in my backyard? I don't know. I just made me happy. So I went and I contributed, and I felt like I was for someone. I don't know if many, given the audience, if there were any other coaches that had been certified through her there, but I felt like part of what I was doing was holding the space of, just like an angel in the corner for her. And so I really wanted to do that. So that's what I did. And that's why I'm late. Um, and that leads us to today's topic, completely unrelated, I think, but there's always maybe not actually. We'll see. I'm sure I can find a way to tie that in. So today, what I want to talk about is that suggest, kindly, softly, to stop saying next in your career or to your career even. So what I mean by that is that recently, unbeknownst to me, I celebrated 7 years of being a career wayfinder coach. I didn't even remember that until I started receiving congratulation messages through the LinkedIn app, from my LinkedIn community. And they're coming in, and of course my heart is expanding. I just am like, oh my gosh, how did I forget that I'm celebrating 7 years? Like, that's a bit of a milestone, that I have, um, you know, if you've ever started a business or a big project, especially one that's kind of feels like your heart, right? That you're building, and and it's taking longer than you expected. There's a lot more intricacies to it, a lot more things than you realized. And that, for me, anyways, making the commitment to doing whatever it takes to become the best coach I can be, to let other people know about, and that led to LinkedIn Lives. Like, how can I let other people know that I am out here, that I want to help, that I've been, um, coaching women and men in through their careers as a recruiter for over 25 years, through the job search process for sure. But then once they're landed, with the relationships I built, I was often coaching just as a recruiter, weirdly, when they were negotiating for a raise or a promotion, when they were in conflict with peers, uh, their team, their boss. For some reason, I just, and this has been like from childhood, really, I was the person people would come to, right, to talk through things. And that's what led me to wanting to become a coach, is it was my favorite part of recruiting eventually. I loved all parts of recruiting, but when I started thinking about my own career transformation, I was looking at what I loved the most, and it was being able to use my knowledge and wisdom to help them tap into their own knowledge and wisdom, and figure out whatever challenge was in front of them. So, uh, so yeah, 7 years. Like, if I had reactions, I don't have access to reactions on this, I don't think, but let's just see. Actually, maybe I do. I'm going to give myself a few reactions. I'm going to do that because that's crazy. I'm going to do that because I'm like on fire. And I'm hoping you see this. I'm going to give myself big thumbs up. So, all of those things, because you know what? I'm celebrating. I am celebrating 7 years. But the fact that I didn't notice it, I was, again, surprised and not surprised. I thought to myself, this is really um, kind of typical of me, and it's something that I want to change. And so, inside Career Alchemy Academy, which the logo is somewhere over my shoulder, love to have you join. We're just, it's getting better and better and better. But one of the things, much of our work beyond, of course, focusing on, creating a career vision, um, you know, taking action on that vision, making progress, using the alchemist tools like the mindset model, which I've been certified in, which is thought work, right? Mindset work, and having a growth mindset, and not staying in the limiting thoughts too long, and finding ways through that more quickly. And also what I call career retrospectives, which are these ways in which you evaluate in order to get alchemist gold out of whatever the challenge is. And of course, we do a lot with our SQ, our spiritual intelligence, and tapping into our spiritual guidance systems, so that and remembering that we're not alone, that we have support, guidance, that we're safe and held, like just that there is so much available to us when we ask, when we get still, when we allow, when we receive, right? So we work on all that because, in this culture, that isn't something that's as honored as much. And I want it to be actually how we lead ourselves is from the inside out. And that's well, when you certify with Martha Beck, you are using tools that help you tap into a larger consciousness and align yourself with your authentic selves, which she calls your true nature. I say that as well because I love it so much. Who we're meant to be, and we may have forgotten. And so, we work on all of these things inside of Career Alchemy Academy and in private coaching as well. But one of the things that's probably like risen up to the top as being one of the most important things that we come back to time and again is capacity. So another coach that I work with had done a webinar on what she called capacity work, and this is for business owners, but I saw the parallels to what we go through when we're in any sort of career transformation, pivoting to a new company, looking to elevate our careers, making some decisions about perhaps becoming our own boss, um, being on a job search and navigating those challenges that especially if you haven't been on a job search in a long time, or if you're in a job search in today's economy, which is, and again, this is not my first rodeo, as I like to say in my sort of Southern voice, but it's or accent, I've been through highs, I've been through lows, all different kinds of economies. And the lows, over the past 20 decades have been for different reasons and have felt different. Each one of them have felt different. And this one also feels different, slightly different. We have AI, coming in and some like, what is that all going to mean? Especially because I do a lot of work with women in and around technology. And they're either like using technology in their work, or their companies are using technology in the services and products that they deliver. I mean, using AI. And so it's an interesting time. So all to say that capacity to be in these interesting times, building capacity to be with hard things. So disappointment when a job offer doesn't come through, a conflict at work. Let's say a client that you were pursuing for, because you've got your own business. You're a consultant, or have some sort of, maybe you're recruiting, own a recruiting firm, or you own a marketing agency, or like some of the other women inside of Career Alchemy Academy, you're your own boss. And that client that you were counting on, that you thought, oh my gosh, I hit it out of the park, and then they tell you they're going in another direction. And being with that, right? And learning how to be with that, but not let it knock you off your game. You miss out on the promotion, or you don't get the raise, or there's any sort of loss that might happen in your life, because of course, we cannot separate career from life. They are so intertwined, and they can, impact each other. Something tough happens at work, and yeah, it's easy to say leave it at the office, but it's also not really. Honestly, I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't ignore it. I would think about the capacity to be with it and keep being with it until it feels, you'll have a shift in energy. But that's inside of the Career Alchemy Academy to talk more about what I'm talking about there. But you get what I mean. Having the ability to be with hard things when they happen. And when hard things happen, it's just human nature to dwell on, what didn't go well. What did I do wrong? How did I let this happen? Wait a second, maybe it's someone else's fault. Who can I blame? what should I've done differently? Like we want to get in there. Sometimes it feels like we're trying to solve the problem or learn from it, but you can tell the difference, and that's a retrospective that we work on. It isn't about beating ourselves up. We look at things differently that way. But it's about you know, it's it isn't hard things happen. We ask these questions, and it's important to spend time with those questions. Because when we do, we get better at evaluating all of our situations. We're getting good at evaluating through a retrospective that particular situation. So we get the alchemy gold out of it. So we can leave any self beat up behind, because now we've integrated what we're going to do in the future, what we've learned from it. We become experts at redirecting our limiting thoughts through thought work. And so when we're faced with a problem, we get like spotlight on these limiting thoughts, and we can be like, oh, I can be with those. I've got a way in which I can, not disbelieve the limiting thought, but find another thought that feels more productive for the situation. We also learn how to regulate our emotions and connecting the emotion that we're feeling with a thought behind it, and being able to again redirect our thoughts so that the emotion can shift. And finally, because we've been, we don't let the hard things, we don't operate on top of them, but now we pay attention to them and we built our capacity to be with them. We actually move through the hard stuff more quickly. We're more steady during the hard times. So that's why it's so important to recognize and build your capacity to be with the hard things. But what about celebrating, right? So celebration, appreciation of our jobs well done, acknowledging ourselves, tooting our own horn, all of these things are also worth building capacity to be with the good things that happen, not just skip over it. And I think that's why I'm saying that was a real awakening for me, to be like 7 years as in this new business. 7 years has already passed. I wasn't even aware, didn't even, think about it. I was treating it like what I call an of course moment, right? Well, of course, 7 years have passed. Of course, I've built my third business. Of course, I got promoted. Of course, I got that new client. Of course, I got the job. Of course, I got the award, that sort of thing. And then we say, of course, and even I would bet some people don't even say, of course I got that. They don't even think about those of course moments. They just are like, next, what, now what? And that's kind of how I've operated. I'm like, work really hard at something and feel all the stress of that hard work. And then when something pays off, when an outcome from my hard work happens, I'm like, oh, that's great. Let's go. What's next? Let's go right back into the hard stuff. Let's challenge myself again. And I'm all about challenging yourself and moving outside your comfort zone. You know that. But come on, let's celebrate ourselves. Let's steepen the joy of bringing a dream to life. Like okay, I'm gonna cry on live, LinkedIn Live. But I did this. I brought this infant, this really twinkle in my eye, as they say, of an idea of a company, and I've been growing it up. I have nurtured it and fed it and encouraged it. And so come on, come on, Lori, come on, people, recognize that, feel it, celebrate that, and don't just move, like slow down and celebrate, because that's how we cement the truth and teach our brains that, and our hearts, I would say, that we can do hard things, that we create our dreams, and then we create, from that dream something manifested in the world, that we have the agency to do that, that we are that powerful in an amazing ways, that we are, live in the proof of what's possible when we dream, you know, and that what you've done, whatever it is, that's small or big, just thinking at the end of every day, like, what can I celebrate about myself today? You know, like that small thing. And when something big happens, your book gets published, let's throw a party. Hold on, can I give you some more? If your book gets published, I'm going to be giving you big celebrations. If you get that raise, you're going to be getting lots of pats on the back and thumbs up happening. And, like, let us celebrate, and deep love for all of us who are walking the path, creating something new for ourselves, right? And 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 celebrating the capacity to be with the hard stuff, and that we can be with that, and also celebrating that we've achieved something, that we've created something. We're all creators, right? And so I'd like to think about that idea, that I am a creator, right? And that I've created something. And so the hard times, when we recognize those and build our capacity to be with those hard times are building our strength to keep going, to go again after a little, darn it thing. And the celebrations remind us that it's all worth it, right? That it's all worth it. So at today, so of course I wrote this blog last week, but I did celebrate. So you can read the blog. I think it's down below, or you can go to inspiretech.com under resources. All my blogs are there. You can capture all that wonderful wisdom. But I did spend time over the weekend, like raising my Starbucks glass to of the iced brown sugar shaken espresso, my new favorite. That's been a favorite now for several months, but I was looking for something different, and I'm like, ooh, this one's low calorie ish, and it tastes yummy, and it's good for summer. And so I was raising that glass and saying, cheers, Lori, to 7 years. Cheers to 7 years, right? And then I was also appreciating my courage, because, you know, it takes courage to, to say, I want something out loud, to say, I'm building this business, and who knows what's going to happen, what's going to come of it. Who knows, right? But I'm going for it. And so that takes courage. And so, yeah, pat myself on the back. Like, I appreciate that. And honoring the investments I've made in myself, like coaching certifications are not cheap. And getting ongoing coaching, business coaching, and life coaching, continuing to use coaches like I do myself, because I am a believer in coaching, and I use coaching to support me. I like to have support, and I don't want to go it alone. And coaching is one way to do that. And so, you can look at the investment and think, the investment that I've put in the company hasn't repaid itself yet, but I still really, like, heck yeah, Lori, like, you believed in you put your money there, you invested in yourself, you invested in this baby, and this business baby growing up. and giving it what it needs. And again, we're past, I would say we're past at 7 years. Well, we're 7 years old. So we still need tons of support, right? We're not a teenager yet. And they still need tons of support. We're not fully grown. And so, I will continue to invest in it. I will give my time to it. I will believe in it. I will give it encouraging words, my business, like you can do for your career. Encourage it, right? I will celebrate it. I will help it, its leader, me, build her capacity to be with, the tough blows and the things don't, the hopeful, things that we're hoping for that don't come through. I will continue to build trust in the fact that what's meant for me will come, and I will continue to build patience that it'll take as long as it takes. Like a job search, it's advice I give people all the time. We just don't know how long. So committing to it, being patient with it, and then building that capacity to be both with the hard and, didn't get invited to an interview, to the celebration of getting the offer and accepting it and setting a start date, to, again, the promotion, the book publication, to being asked to speak on a panel. All of those things, we're going to be with both of them, and not just say next to the celebrations, and not spend an inordinate amount of time in the hard, in the why didn't it work out? Oh my gosh, that sort of spiral, right? We're giving both equal airtime. So I challenge you, to consider where perhaps you were saying next in your career, where you haven't been acknowledging and appreciating all you've built to this point, where you've rushed to say next instead of fully integrating the experience of the success, where you've, so think about these things, like, what's truly worth celebrating today or this week? I just ask you, if we had a chat, if we had a chat, I would say, what's worth celebrating today? What skills, strengths, experiences, decisions have helped you reach this milestone or this successful thing? Like integrating that, like I did this. I chose to. This month inside Career Alchemy Academy, we're talking about visibility. It's one of the core alchemist paths that you can be on. There's 3 pillars to Career Alchemy Academy: the vision, the path, and the tools. And when you're on the path, one of the things we talk about is visibility. And so that, what have you done to be more visible in your career this week? Let's celebrate that. Who or what have supported you and are supporting you on your path? Let's celebrate them. And by celebrating them, you're celebrating yourself, that you engage them in the process, even if it's your spouse or your best friend that you talk to, by engaging them in where you're at in the process of your career, of your business building. That's worth celebrating. And also looking at past achievements and making sure and connecting to those and making sure that you don't, even though you may have said next to those, all these years, let's spend a little bit and just say, here's things we're celebrating from my past. I remember my freshman year in college and how hard that was. It was so hard for me. And I was so homesick. I was not in the right place for me. But of course, all I knew is that I just was unhappy. And of course, eventually, we move through the hard things, and life brings us where we're never that far off track. And I do believe we need to experience sort of like, ooh, it's not this, so we can know better it is this, right? I talk to people who, I have a client right now who, she was on a long-term contract that came to an end, and she started her job search and very quickly got an offer and took the offer, and pretty soon knew that this culture was not going to be the right culture for her. And the way that how they how the data engineering, software engineering teams worked, just didn't like fit with her style. Let's put it that way. So she knew pretty quickly that this was not a long-term place for her. And so through that, it's hard, but through this hard stuff, she's learned lots about how she likes to work and how she best um, the best type of leadership style that gets the best out of her. And so we're crafting questions in her interviews now as she's searching for a job to make sure that we're uncovering how they make decisions and how they develop people. And we're creating all these questions so that we can do our best to learn from the past and create something we're celebrating in the future. So that's what I am calling you to today, to just take some deep breaths, let yourself really take in all that you have done to date that's worth celebrating. That's gosh, that's you made you who you are, and that's taught you so much about what you love and what you don't love, you know, and 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 it sparked because those hard times, they do bring you courage, right? And they do point you in a different direction. And my hard freshman year in college pointed me to my sophomore year in college, which was a much better place for me and where I stayed for the rest of, even though I could transfer very little and I had to stay an extra year in school, I did not care because I was where I was supposed to be. And so we're never that far out of alignment. But I think that by celebrating our wins, that will, it sort of was like a message to the universe that, yes, more of this. Please celebrate me. Give me things to celebrate, more of that. So let's do it. Let's just celebrate, celebrate, celebrate ourselves and our wins. And that's what I have for you today. And please join me in Career Alchemy Academy. DM me if you have any questions and send me the things that you're celebrating. I love to hold those with you and celebrate those with you. It's so fun to share your celebrations. And thank you for LinkedIn, for having a LinkedIn Live where I can come and celebrate my 7 years being a coach and building a business that is not only practical and tactical and pragmatic, that uses that side of me, but also has given me a pathway to bringing out my spirit-centered beliefs and commingling them. And I just, I'm having more fun than ever. So enough about me. I want to hear more about you. How are you celebrating yourself? And let's call in more of that. So peace, love, and celebration. Talk to you soon.